Coach, I know you often say that, you got to watch the film to kind of really dissect some things that happened, but was there any specific adjustments that you wanted to make going from the first half to the second half that you think you guys executed well?
Um, I think overall our guys did a tremendous job in the second half, especially through the foul trouble. We had some units out there have never played together or haven't practiced once with Santi at the five or stuff like this. And I thought our shot quality was tremendous throughout the game, and still they were hanging in the game, and it was a very gutsy performance by our guys, and I wouldn't say it was because of any adjustments. It was just on the mental side, we looked very strong, and from the every guy who stepped on the court contributed.
Coach, strategically, what did you guys do to sort of flip the energy in that third quarter? It seemed like that was a quarter where things started clicking together, and then to come back again in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, less about the strategy again, more about competitiveness. I mean, all the tactics are there to support the competitiveness. So there's, I think, two like an important complementary pair: cooperation and competition. And you cooperate on the court to be able to compete together. But competition is the basis for any sports, as there's a measure who wins. Somebody wins and somebody loses, and I thought our guys showed tremendous competitiveness today, and how they rallied around each other and found ways to make incredible plays down the stretch with sometimes with sheer will, but still having a clear idea of what we wanted to do, and that's something that we need going forward. The fact that we are competing hard, but with a cool head and still able to make the right decisions offensively.
Cedric Howard, 14 points, obviously made every shot that he took. How did you assess his first performance in the NBA?
Tremendous performance by Cedric. Check the plus minus after game, and 24 sounds about right. Plus, had really high level possessions against Poole after he got going early on. Made second game in a row an unreal verticality contest against an opposing big. Last game it was Khalil Ware. Today it was Zion Williamson. These are not average athletes that he's making plays against at the rim as a 2-3, and that's a quality that's really rare. And then his ability to get out on a break, get behind guys, finish there with physicality, just he's really growing, and it's been one of the things that we've been very encouraged with him, that even though his shot wasn't falling in the first exhibitions, he found a way to make an impact, and especially in the fourth quarter, he was very impactful and in most of those games, and today he did that for all four quarters.
We've talked about it a lot that the health situation isn't ideal, but when Ja and Jaren are on the court and they're playing at this level, do you feel like you have a chance in every game?
I mean, those guys are world-class players, so they always help our chances of winning, but we try to think about the situation that whoever we have is whoever we need. Like it's not going to change in a little while right here, so we might as well do everything we can with this group. And it's like even though we can rationalize, it doesn't help us in this situation at all. Our expectations stay very high on our execution and our standards, and those are the things we can control. And today, even though we lost the rebounding battle, the second shot opportunities, our shot wasn't falling, we still found a way to win, and that's what this whole thing is about. Just find a way to win.
Coach, right here in the back, you mentioned it's going to be this way in the front court, especially for a while until Zach and Brandon get back. You survive with some unconventional lineups tonight while Jaren fouls out, Jock fouls out. Is there a conversation to be had with them about kind of towing the line between aggressiveness but also knowing how important they are during this time, or do you kind of let it go and deal with the consequences, whatever they may be?
Yeah, there's always, like, each one of these guys gets individualized feedback as well as team feedback after every game, but if you look at the plays, for example, that Jaren made in the second half after going into that second half with 4 fouls, just tremendous plays at the rim, several of them. And do you want to as a coach tone that down? There's an inherent risk to if you're contesting a ton of shots inside that's going to, especially against a player like Zion, who puts a ton of rim pressure and looks to attack and create contact. So it's a tricky situation, but yes, those are every game reviewed, and of course we would love him to be on the court as much as possible. But today it turned out well.
Obviously, you have just had and have a decision to make about filling some of these front court minutes behind Jock and Jaren and Santi. Went with Omax Prosper in the rotation. What sort of gave him the edge in terms of the guy you decided to have in that role?
Omax's role today, playing more minutes. We felt like he is a great matchup for Zion, and this was one of our most important things heading into this game, and we knew that Omax had done a tremendous job for us in the previous games, also igniting the defense and also giving us transition points, rebounding opportunities more, and that was the decision that went into.
Coach, congrats on the first win of the season. Was there a concerted effort to try to manage Ja's minutes tonight, being the fact that he didn't play in the preseason? He had like 26 minutes tonight, but very efficient shooting. Was that kind of a concerted effort for you to try to manage his minutes on tonight's game?
Yeah, I think there's two components to that. First one, the overall minutes. We talked about it pregame here that we need to find a balance between keeping those minutes in check and still playing him as much as possible because he's Ja. And then the second one, how you allocate those minutes within, like how many stints you're playing. And we figured out that for today, the best was 3-stint strategy on each half, which allows him to go very hard for a certain time and then recover and then come back again. And that allowed us to keep the pace very high because also Javon Small was playing similar type of stints and was one of the keys to our 41 transition points that we were able to do this even late in the fourth quarter to get behind the defense and finish over there.
Last two questions, Parker and then Michael.
Tuomas, it seemed like the help defense really popped with how y'all shrunk space on paint touches and made defensive plays on the low side. Do you see that as a step in the right direction towards getting the defense to the standard that y'all are wanting?
Yeah, it's important, especially on those baseline or slot drives, to rotate the rotate the low man over, and that's something we didn't do a particularly good job with in the preseason. And it's like our defense last year was built a lot on Jaren's rim protection, on Zach's rim protection, and BC's ability to recover and cover a ton of ground, and we haven't had that yet this season, that we have those three guys. So we got to rely more on the collective and make sure the rotations are on point and everybody's flying around. And that's been one of our biggest things in the preseason, because we have several guys, like our rotations are, like every team has a little bit different rotation principles, and those are things that have to be ingrained into habits, because they're split-second decisions. They're not. It doesn't happen so that you start thinking about what you need to do, and that's what one of the things that really improves with continuity and of system and of personnel, and that's one of the things we said. Okay, we can take a big step forward early in the season. Early in the season we can take a big step forward because we don't have those rim protectors in preseason, so we can get tighter with our rotations, and then once we get some of our bigs back, we can be even better defensively.
Coach, with Jaren in particular, you go into the second half, he already has 4 fouls. As the coach, you're talking to him. What's the dialogue like when that's going on? And then 2, just what did you make of how he played in that third quarter and into the fourth through that situation?
Just show your hands. Just show your hands and be disciplined with it. It's a fine line because you also don't want to foul out your own guys. And what I mean by that is we could have made the decision with him and Jock to not play them in that situation, but we are in the process of building trust, and that trust is it's a two-way street. Jaren is approaching his prime years, and for him to be at his best, he's got to be able to stay on the floor and make those split decisions in practice. And it's one of the reasons why we try to push into a very a fatigued state in practices every now and then, because it also challenges your decision making in that spot. And I know we've had those situations in practice, especially when he came back after that long break, where he starts fouling in that situation because he's so winded. And to be able to address that in practice is, I would say, possible when you have 18,000 people screaming and you're chasing Zion Williamson around. That's not a good place to start teaching something. So you have to introduce those situations in practice and then again create the habits over there.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.